Hey, I'm Johnny Scoville.
And I am Tommy Scoville.
And this is the Capsaicin Connection.
What's happening, peoples?
Good to see you.
So, I don't know if you know, but I was just over on the Sean Atwood program. I was having a sit down.
That was interesting.
Yeah. So you caught a little of that. That was fun, wasn't it?
That was something.
You gonna say hi to some people?
Yeah. Let's see who's here. Hang on a minute.
And then we can fire this rascal.
Yep. We're going to say hi to some folks. You know what? There's a lot of people going through it right now. I mean it. And so if you're one of those people going through it,
you come to
clicked
the right
on
place.
the right stream. Yeah, I mean it. So let's see who we got here. Got a few people we can say hello to. Sometimes this works. Dylan, Brock Bandy, Angie Mo, hello there. Dizzy Dragon, Flaming Koala, Jeremy Fowler, Just Joan, Katie Fulton.
Angie Mo had lunch with my fiance.
Very close. It was a good one.
Yeah, they had a great time. Quiz was calling me right afterwards. She was all choked up.
Keith Kingman, Keeping the Faith, Christopher Linda Kim, Lisa Trimble. Good to see you, Marco. Good to see you. Pepper Poppy, Rick Spicer, The Silver Surfer. There's Rona. Good to see you. Boy, it's losing control here. Miss Ann, good to see you. Pepper Poppy, Rick Spicer, Silver Surfer. Arwa, hello there. Tricky Girl, hello there. There's Robin, True Crime Nut, and Winchester Super X. I'm probably trying to get
2 weeks behind.
So it works. I'm gonna let you control that. I'm bad at that.
See, I can't use a mouse. That's why we use this one.
Well,
we get on.
I'll just do that.
Then I got the touch screen, and I'm just a master at the touch screen, man. For real.
Whoops, what is that right there?
You'd be really surprised if just how good.
Could have gone south.
Let's stop
listen,
touching things, man.
Right? If you have any questions, we're going to talk about sobriety. If you have something, a question,
I'm going to fire this thing up there.
If you've got a question or a concern or something you want read, please put some
cues.
Yeah, Brian, good to see you. Put some cues, some capital cues in front of it, and it'll catch our attention. And hi, Kim.
Keith, I love that, man. Journaling every day changes your life, doesn't it? These glasses have a hair in them. I'm not wearing them ever again. You know what I mean? They jet out the side, and when I look, there's this hair that never goes away. I feel like the cat. Sorry. I'm ready to start talking about sobriety, though. If that's what we're going to have to do, a sobriety thing. Let's do it like the old days.
Four Horsemen, good to see you.
So let me tell you about my week. I've had the slings and arrows, right? That's Shakespeare. To be or not to be. Well, I have been suffering the slings and arrows, and the truth of the matter is, I step out of YouTube like I'm taking off a condom. I'm sorry, it's the truth. I step out of that, I take the suit off, I throw that thing, and I walk back into the real world, and I hang out with cats and people and Quibsy. And but the level of vitriol and hate that has come with this particular attempt, it gets you back to your basics. And I was thinking about this. Yesterday, I was
doing something.
I saw somebody sent me a question, and it was completely legit as a question. And the question had to do with whether or not I was in an intimate relationship with a family member. And I'm thinking to myself, like I'm balling up my fists because I'm a dude, right? I just want to take the dude that said this and hold him and saw him like this back and forth a few times. But I'm not that guy. And it's weird because these kind of crises happen when you're sober. Well, when I was wasted, this is a really easy concept, right? I am so done with this dude. I am going to beat him like a rented mule. And when this is over, instead, I got to go through an entire new checklist of things. And I'll tell you something.
I was saying that to somebody yesterday. I said that to somebody yesterday. I said, years ago,
my hands
I would have handled it differently. And it would have been probably blown over quicker.
Much quicker.
But now, none of all the avenues I used to use as coping mechanisms are gone.
Yeah,
and I know, right?
My hands don't hurt. I have no bruising, and more importantly, this is the lesson for the day for me. Honestly, you don't have to believe in anything. That's your business. I happen to believe in some stuff. So for me, there's this moment where you just go like this. I can't handle this. All of this crap and all of the lies and all of this is bigger than me, and I'm just gonna let go of it, and sort of let it play itself out. Put it in the hands of my higher power, and you get this kind of peace. And Quibs and I were laughing last night on the phone. I mean, just yucking it up, and it was about a movie that we share a love of, and we were laughing about the movie. And I said to her, we're laughing and having a pretty good time. There are times when you're in the middle of a shitstorm, pardon me, So bad, dude. There are times when you're in the middle of a storm where you feel like those days aren't going to come ever again. You know what I mean? I did that just so I could be with the most.
Right.
He did that once in the Hall of Fame. Alleged.
He did. Now listen. Question from Lisa Trimble. What do you do when your alcoholic behavior shows up with food? I've been doing well and eating appropriately, but not tonight.
Well, I wouldn't beat the ever-loving crap out of myself for any of the things in life where we slip up once, right? So you slipped up tonight is what you're saying. But the real question becomes, is it one of those situations where you're now using food in the same way you were using alcohol, right? Because there is a difference. Sometimes we eat, but if you are using alcohol as a way to change your emotion, right? Then you're you're literally in the same disease, and you've got to treat it the exact same way. Go back to the very basics. You know, the beautiful thing about, I say that there's always, for me, you know, you had a 3-part plan. And the first part was I listed all the reasons I wanted to be sober, which, by the way, had nothing to do with me. I was a loser at the time and didn't want to be. There was nothing about me I liked. Honestly, it was a miracle that I was getting up every morning and breathing and not doing anything stupid. That's kind of where my dome was. So I made a list of all the people that weren't stupid. I listed you. I listed my daughter and my son. I listed my dad and my mom and all of the people that stood by me and all of the reasons that I knew I should be sober, right? And then I made a list of what anybody that knew me would say about me, describing me, right? Like the ultimate, your best friend who knows every single thing you've ever done, like God almost. And then I wrote down the third page was what I wished people would have said about me. Those were the 3 things, right? Well, guess what? If I get to a point where I balloon up to 325 pounds because instead of sticking a needle in my arm, I stick a cheeseburger in my mouth, but I'm doing the same thing, right? I get to the stress part and I'm like, I can't take this stress. I feel uncomfortable in my own skin. I eat, my body releases endorphins. I'm the same dude. So I sit back down with the same piece of paper. Why do I want to stop doing this to myself? Write those things out, right? And get right back to the basics of how you quit the first time, because we said whether it's going to be food or alcohol or the Bolivian marching powder or any of those things, this is just a different symptom of the same disease.
And one thing that I can tell you from my experience of knowing you, Lisa, you're very self-aware. There's some people that go through life, excuse me, with their switch down, and they aren't aware. When you're aware, you notice things like when you're in relapse, you're aware of your issues.
I can pick that up, you know.
She probably would wake up. You're aware of your issues, and honest to God, that's half the battle. We got a cat in the basket, and you know the cat in the basket you normally see on the.
You crazy?
I know.
She watches my show.
She really does.
Every time. If I'm live, Squirrel is in my room. She's probably got it on 2 devices because she's a team player.
Robin says, social life in sobriety, it's tough. It just requires some discipline, some changes.
Changes, right? It's not tough unless you try to live the same social life, right? If you're in a dart league and you go out every Wednesday night and you throw darts and you drink 14 beers with 3 kamikaze shooters and you've been doing this every Tuesday your entire life, to go have a social life that involves throwing darts at a pub, you're probably really stacking the deck against you pretty ugly, right? You have to change people, places, things, and attitudes. And I'll be honest with you. So I don't have a social life. And I took a hit. That's something that I shouldn't say that. I have a very strange social life. I don't go out ever. And some of that would be the same. I think even it's just an age thing. I'm also, you know, I have a girl in my life that I care about pretty deeply. You guys probably heard of her. I don't. There's no reason. Yeah, there's no reason to go out and
Tommy's too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. That's just a part of my life that's over. But when I get to some place, if you invite me to your house and you say, "Hey, I'm having a party on Thursday," right? If you're somebody who in the past has done any of the substances that I cannot do in my life, we're going to have a conversation before I get there. I wouldn't expect, if my substance of choice is alcohol, I wouldn't expect the person throwing the party to not have alcohol there. I wouldn't. I think that's a tall order. I don't want people rearranging their life for me. However, if the guy says, "Yeah, Tommy, we're probably going to do a little smack at this party. I mean, it'll be here. It's not going to be out in your face." I'm going to say, "Well, I appreciate you. I'm not going to be there." Right. And I got It'll be a decade this June. It doesn't matter to me in the slightest because I'm not going to put myself into situations that are uncomfortable, right? And if I'm in a room, in a place, at a party or wherever where I know people are getting high, trust and mother love and believe I'm going to be uncomfortable.
I won't be there. I'll get out. It takes discipline. It's a fact.
Do you get uncomfortable at red lights when you see people copping dope on the street corner?
I look away.
Or people,
I look away.
People fixing on a park bench because that happens these days.
Yeah.
We saw it the other day. A guy banging dope on a park bench.
That was crazy. Right here in Tucson. Toby asks, what advice would you give someone that wants to try tincture for the first time? You know what? The other day, somebody asked me, there's a company out of California called Jay's Small Batch Hot Sauce, Mr. Roby. He's great. He's a mixologist, and he has created a bunch of tinctures for brand new people. You put in like iced tea and drinks. They're delicious, and they're not hot. Now, I know that I say that a lot. Nobody believes me, but they really aren't that hot.
Because Johnny's never told anyone that something wasn't hot, and then actually it burned that person because it was hotter than Johnny said. That's never actually happened.
Look,
he's caught a bad reputation about it, but that's never actually happened, correct?
Maybe once or twice. Mama Medity says, wait, there are two?
How many times have you done it to me? Yes, there are two of us.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, there are. Kim, was just changing one addiction for another. You know what? I've had a lot of people say it to me about peppers, to which case I always say,
good trade?
Yeah, absolutely. Winchester Super X, I gained a whole lot of weight after I stopped making ice and base.
Nice.
I was sleeping all day for 3 weeks. Nothing but a bit of sport and good food can't fix.
You know something, Winchester Super X? I love that, man. Do you hear that, people? Let me tell you something. Ice isn't easy to kick because of what that stuff does to your brain. All of those feel-good chemicals, the greatest ones, the ones that you get when your kid gets handed to you and all of that, that's the chemical that you're dumping into your body like a faucet. And depending on how you're getting it into your system, that is a tough drug to quit. My hat's off to you. No joke. You know what? In fact, put a 4 up in the chat. Anybody that's kicking that stuff deserves 4 claps.
Amen.
That's solid, man. That really is.
You know,
solid.
and that's what, if nothing else, we come here for support and encouragement.
Do you know why we come here? Because you can say to your loved ones, "Hey, guess what, man? I'm coming up on 9 years. It's going to be 9 years on Thursday, and no matter how much they love you, and no matter how much they mean well, they're going to say something along the lines of, I couldn't be more proud of you. That is the greatest thing in the world. Listen, your Aunt Helen is going to be here. Don't bring that crap up in front of your Aunt Helen, though. You know what I mean? You've been doing good. You got 9 years under your belt. No one should even be talking about this anymore, right? This is something that we can now forget and pretend never happened. And it's the defining characteristic in my life.
You know what occurred to me this morning showering? I want to run this by you. I want to run this by you and see what you think. Quitting any addiction and kind of, when you talk about capsaicin, it helps you. I've clicked your comment, Kim, and I'll get to it in just a minute. If you guys have comments or questions, we'll click on them. You're trading one addiction for another. If you're trying to quit something, you say, I know I can start eating peppers. You're trading one addiction for another, knowing that you're going to be starting another addiction. That can somehow, I think, make the whole thing. It's a paradigm shift.
We're not good at quitting. We've never been good at quitting anything. We're great at catching a habit, right? As human beings, we are so good at catching a habit. I mean, like that. But if you ask us to undo something, so very often, like the guys in prison have a much higher success rate quitting in prison than they do on the street. You go, well, because they can't get dope. No, you can get dope in prison. Trust and believe you can get dope in prison. It's everywhere. But what happens instead is they're forced to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. They're forced to be ready to go out. They eat a breakfast. And when they come back, guys are working out. So instead of getting high, they pour all of that into trying to get a 6-pack abs and a big chest and shoulders, or they pick something else, but they program. They replace one thing with another. By the way, there's going to be a lot of people who talk about you trading one substance for another. If you have been smoking crack for the last 10 years and now you smoke 2 joints a day, you won the lottery. You're a genius.
Absolutely.
Sorry. And if that's going to bum out the people that think that abstinence is the lick, abstinence is the lick. But I'm going to send somebody away and tell them that they're failing because they put down a 1/4 ounce of crack a day habit for a joint. I think they won the lottery. And I'm going to celebrate that win. And hopefully over time, they'll have to do a little bit less of the weed. But there are great trades in the drug
progress.
Yeah.
It's moving. It's advancing the flag. You know what I mean?
And you know something else? There are people who I'll get emails from someone that say, I watch your show. I do 4 shots of bourbon before I watch it. And you think to yourself, well, that's not much of a success. I'm kind of getting my butt kicked on this whole sobriety thing. But they said, when I started watching your show, I used to drink a fifth before you got started. Well, that's 32 of those shots. So if they put 28 of them away, well, I'm damn proud of you. Right. And I'm not unhappy that you're continuing to drink. I'm very happy that you're 28 shots down. We're getting to the point now where you could transfer off of this without the fear of the seizures and all of the other things. Harm reduction is a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going out of order here. I do have everybody's stuff starred, so I will get to it. Hit the like, please. If you haven't done that, please do that.
Sparkling.
This is a big one here. Sharon Kenny, I feel like a fraud smoking weed and being here. Don't.
Why?
Nobody here. Listen, I can speak for you this one. I'm not. Neither one of us are anti-drug. We're anti-addiction. And if that's not if something you have a problem with, then don't sweat it. Don't sweat it.
I was looking for my my gummy packet. I eat cannabis to deal with sleep problems, and if that makes me a phony, go ahead, put it in the chat. I don't care. I mean, honestly, look, people have been throwing rocks at us concerning harm reduction since we started the lifeboat. The sobriety Nazis who tell you that, you can't do any substance, right? If you're doing any of those things, you're a failure. Let me ask you a question, Sharon. Is weed interfering in your life? Are you taking money that you should be spending on other things to spend it on weed? Is your only coping mechanism running to the pipe? Because if that is the truth, if you are somebody that can't cope with the activities of the day-to-day, or if you feel so uncomfortable in your own skin that you need to smoke that weed in order to feel normal, then we need to address those issues. And you need to start journaling and working toward a time when you can get that out of your life, because that's an addiction and that's unhealthy. Now, if it's just something that you do to unwind, like some people have a few drinks or whatever, it's the only thing that stops the dreams. Well, guess what? That's why I take it. And I take it at night. And I don't feel like a fraud, right? I don't hide the fact that I take it. And guess what? I could have. I mean,
one thing I think you find when you start getting sober is you learn to stay in your own lane. Everybody has their own lane and their own sobriety and everything else. And staying in your own lane is a good thing.
It's a beautiful thing. And unfortunately, a lot of times when people first get sober, they want so much, right? They want so much to be able to tell everybody else what screw ups they are. You're still drinking? Do you know I haven't touched a chemical in over 9 days? Well, you're obnoxious. Get back in your lane. Nobody cares. I vape, so do I, Ian.
Okay, we get to some of the starred questions that go way back for a bit. Here we go. Jonathan, here we go. Jonathan says, you have to admit to yourself that you have a problem. No, you do not have to admit it out loud if it makes you feel uncomfortable, but acknowledging that you have a problem is a turning point. And being here is wonderful, because if you had to walk into I say this a lot, but if you had to walk into your town where there's a meeting held, you walk across the gym floor, there's a circle of chairs, and you sit down and you say, I'm Johnny, I got a problem. That's a tough thing to do. But if you sit down, you guys don't, we're the ones with the camera in front of us. You guys don't.
Especially
you can sit there and type in and say, you know what? I got a problem. It's a step in the right direction.
What's your name and what's your substance of choice? And when was the last time you used? And you stand up and you say, I'm Tommy. My substance of choice is heroin, and I haven't used in 9 years. Hello, Tommy. Right? Okay, that's fine for Tommy. I promise it is. But 9 out of 10 people don't want anybody in a speaking setting staring at them. So this is a little bit easier. But you're absolutely right. And there are people who wrestle with this stuff because they go, I'm not powerless over anything. That statement proves you are.
Right.
That statement absolutely proves you are. Because I'll tell you something. I have incredible power over heroin. Right? I win a fist fight with heroin every single day by not getting in a fist fight with heroin. I will never be able to fight it one-on-one and win. I will lose every single time. I have almost 28,000 people that help me stay focused and keep moving in the right direction. But that substance has my number. I will never be able to do it once, put it down, and walk away from it. If I do it once, I'm going to do it the next day. I'm going to do it the next day, and I'm going to do it until they put on those handcuffs. Because that's what stops it every time. It's a terribly stupid old joke, but it really actually has a lot of legs. And that's, you do it, you're allergic to the drug. You do it and you break out in handcuffs, right? That's what ends my run every single time, is me kicking, laying on a 1-inch thick mattress that 4,000 other people have kicked dope laying on. And I'm done.
Kiv's got a great one. I think about this a lot. You and I have talked about it. I think food addiction is the hardest. We're supposed to eat to survive, but in my case, I survive to eat. I stay in a lot. I mean a lot. I am what they call an agoraphobia.
Well,
you know what? I feel so hard. I feel real. My heart breaks for people that have an eating disorder. I don't even know where to begin with it. I'll defer to my expert panel here.
Yeah, I do. So when I quit doing smack the first time, I traded one drug for another, and I traded opiates for food, and I got to just closing in on the 300 mark, which for me is an awful lot of weight. And I've showed the picture on here before. There's actually a picture of me standing with Drew Peterson, and I'm wearing a 4X t-shirt. I mean, I was I got
that picture.
Yeah, I'm very big in this picture, and I realized, right, by talking to the people that I was working with in my life, particularly Q. And in the beginning, I mean, when Q finally said to me, "Hey, man, you do realize that you got a food addiction? You got a real problem with this?" And I go, "You know, when did that occur to you?" He goes, "About the third week you quit doing smack." And I was like, "Whoa!" Like, and he said to me, at the time, it was working beautifully. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, this is something we are animals, right? And we do everything we can to survive. And we are looking for a way to get off of this really horrific chemical. And at the time, our receptors go, "Oh, you need a little dopamine? Eat that freaking cheeseburger. I'll give you some dopamine. Crush those Cool Ranch Doritos. I'll give you some dopamine." And it's a learned behavior. But I got away. And once I started to get away from it, and I realized that, yep, this is it. I'm doing it again. Why do I want to stop eating? Well, for health reasons, right? Why do I want to stop? For the same reasons. I don't want to die. I don't want my kids to have to be without me. And I made a list, right? What would people say about me? Well, currently they'd say, "Hey, he's come a long way. Guy's not doing dope anymore." You know, it was a whole different list than it was the first time. But they would say, every time I got angry at somebody, anytime I got stressed, I disappear. I go in my cell. I take 3 soups and I start a process of making something that was about 3,800 calories. And I crushed one a day. I had to find a whole new set of coping mechanisms, because here's what I'm here to tell you, Kim, and everybody else who suffers with this. You can feel comfortable in your own skin without any effort. You can feel comfortable in your own skin just being in your own skin. Now, listen, having an eating disorder means our weight's going to go up through the roof. And that drives a lot of us to hide more, right? So we pull back from society more, which makes us feel more like what? Like a leper, right? And then we start feeling bad, and we start feeling terrible about ourselves. And what do we do when we feel terrible about ourselves? We crush a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos, right? Or we butter Pop-Tarts. I'm not being funny or busting anyone's chops. I did this, right? You do things that are going to make you comfort food, right? Well, it's doing the same thing. It's releasing the same chemicals. I don't care whether you're snorting it or whether you're eating it. It's the exact same thing, right? The only difference is if you quit snorting, you're not going to die. If you quit eating, you're gonna. So we have to get to a point where we eat for sustenance, but we don't eat so that we don't feel bad about ourselves, because that's a terrible way to live. If you eat, makes you feel bad, then you got to eat because you feel bad. This is a very, very simple concept, right? This is a very simple concept. What we want to do is harm reduction. If you're standing on the scale and the scale says 350 pounds to you, you're not going to feel good about yourself. I don't care. It's just the way it is. Unless you're a linebacker, right? Unless you're a defensive tackle for the Green Bay Packers, you're probably concerned about that number. Right? If you make any effort toward harm reduction, I don't care. Take a look at what you do. Live your normal life for the next 7 days and write down every damn thing you eat and when you eat it. Take that notebook, walk around with you. You want to eat, do it. Don't take any crap. Don't talk yourself out of it. Write down when you eat. Number one, you're going to see patterns. But number two, you're going to get an idea of how much you're crushing on a daily basis. Now we can start to back off. And it sounds silly, people, but little victories. You know why I tell you got to make your friggin' bed? Because you've never had a victory. If you're a dope fiend, you've never had a victory. You never set a goal, achieved the goal, and went, hell yes, it's never happened. Drug addicts don't do it. Right? Our goal is just to get more drugs or to drink or to do whatever. Get up in the morning, make that bed, and stand there and look at it and go, I said I was going to do that, and I did it. That little dopamine hit will grow. You can build on it to the point where when you start doing the right things, your body actually gives you feel-good chemicals. Our problem, right? And people way smarter than me figured this out. But our problem, whether it's food, whether it's dope, whether it's gambling, whether it's sex, whether it's whatever, is we have a malfunctioning reward center. The reward center of our brain doesn't work right. It should reward us for doing things like putting in a good day's work, right? Taking care of your daughter or your son, being an upstanding member of society. reaching out and helping people, working at a soup kitchen, all of these things, right? That's what you should get rewarded for. What if I walk by a car, I look in the car and I see a purse. Now I look at the other side and I can see the red mark. That door ain't locked. So I go around the side of the car, I look around, I whip the door open and I grab it. I'm stealing from someone. This is going to ruin this person's life, at least for a period of time. All of their IDs are gone, all of that. But my brain goes, nice job, Tommy, here you go. And it gives me a hit of dopamine to reinforce that what I just did, stealing that out of that woman's car, was a good thing. And you go, well, that's kind of stupid. Well, guess what? That same dose of chemical is what happens to bond you to your kid the day it's born. It's just a chemical that comes in the brain that makes it so important that that baby, even though it's peeing and crapping all over the place and screaming and being not a lot of fun to be around, is the most important thing on planet Earth. You're not going to throw it out with the bathwater because this thing is the most important thing in the world. And you say, well, no, that's love. No, that's a chemical. It is. It's a chemical reaction in your brain. And for some of us, when the dope man shows up and he hands you that stuff after taking your $100 bill, that's the feeling we get. Do you see this?
I sure do. She does that to me.
I have a little cat that just jumped up on the chair behind me.
Now she's back in the basket for more sleep.
She
sleeps more than Johnny Scoville.
and she eats a lot. A few more questions here. When I get to Arwa says, writing poems always makes me feel good. It's my version of journaling.
Good.
Yeah, I also write in my journal. She's both. She's nailing it.
Look, there are people that make songs, that make music. There are people that, like Spanx Calhoun, paints, and it is such an outlet for him. It's a form of journaling.
Okay, Noah, if someone's trying to build their tolerance, is there a difference between eating the same pepper every day versus upping what you eat after a certain number of days? Capsaicin helps with sobriety, and I love that. If you only have once you've tapped out, let's say that you have the hottest thing you can get your hands on with peppers is a ghost pepper or habanero at a grocery store. Then once you max out, eating multiples will still drive it up, even though you're eating the same pepper, right? So if eating more of it will help you. The truth is, if all you ever do is eat jalapenos, you're going to get the benefit as far as the capsaicin, the benefit for addiction and for more serotonin in your system, which is wonderful. Keith Kingman says, yes, I agree. Admitting that you have a problem helps, but calling yourself a recovering alcoholic or addict is a big step.
To say you're addicted is tough, right? It really is. And it's funny because on a daily basis, and I'm not exaggerating even a little bit, on a daily basis, somebody reaches out and says, could you please tell me I'm an addict? They want me to do this one. You're an addict. Now, let's get to fixing you. I can't pronounce anybody an addict. I always used to say back in the day, jokingly, just don't do it for a couple of weeks. You'll get a pretty good idea whether or not you're addicted. These days, I don't even joke like that because there are people who will try. Talk to your doctor before you quit anything. Unfortunately, our body becomes dependent on some substances like alcohol, benzodiazepines, Dalphine, the generic for methadone. These substances, if you get too addicted to them, can cause seizures when you try to quit. So make sure you talk to a doctor before you quit anything. But you know something? Let me tell you a quick story about doctors and addiction. The physician's desk reference used to, if you looked up alcoholism, addiction, it used to say, be nice to them, right? Keep them away from things like guns or machinery or vehicles, because this person is going to kill themselves with their chemical. And you want to make sure that they don't kill themselves with anybody else. But in terms of treatment, there was none. There was no treatment at all for alcoholism. It was a disease as far as the medical community was concerned, or an ailment, whatever you want to call it, that had no treatment. And then a raging alcoholic said to another raging alcoholic, I can't stop myself from drinking. I've been trying my entire life. But how about if I keep you from drinking tomorrow?
Deal.
Right? And then you keep me from drinking tomorrow. I'm not going to worry about me. I'm just not going to let you drink tomorrow. And the amazing thing is that two addicts, right, managed to pull this off when all of the best minds in the world thought it was impossible. And we stand on the backs of those cats. I'm not a 12-step dude, but none of us would be having this conversation right now, right? None of us. Yeah, we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for Bill and that concept of, you know what, I can be my brother's keeper. I really can. I can try to do something to help these people. And you know the best thing in the world? We've been dirtbags, right? Me, me. Right? People like me, people that do the dope that I did and do it the way that we're dirtbags. And when you finally get clean, you don't just have an opportunity to be a new creature and a new person. You have an opportunity to save a crap load of people. Like you literally have an opportunity to go running back into the fire and grab as many folks as you can because they're everywhere. Like everywhere you look, there are people who are struggling with this concept and with this disease. Grab a couple,
It's
man.
fact.
Reach out and try to save somebody.
Robin says, when I quit drinking, I carried sparkling water with me everywhere, 4 years, and I still do it.
Yeah, people think you have a cocktail, and sometimes that really takes a lot off. I don't know if you remember when I quit drinking. I quit drinking basically because Johnny did. And I'm not going to go out with my brother to a restaurant for lunch and have a couple of beers. I think it's disrespectful, number one, and it's just not something that I intend to do. But if I'm somewhere where there's a stigma, because there is, let's be honest. I used to say, get me a club soda with a lime, because it looks like now I've kind of evolved, right? Now I kind of like that feeling of discomfort that I cause in a room when they go, hey, can I get you anything? And I go, no, I don't have a drinking problem or anything. I'm a heroin addict, so I'm not trying to go back down that road. I'm not gonna cower in the corner and be ashamed of my disease. I made a lot of mistakes, but you know what? I'm pretty damn proud of the dude I am today. And I think that's the best you can hope for, right? For real. And that I walked out of there with a decent amount of knowledge, right?
Amen. You boys going to Tishomingo?
You can't prove that.
I hear there's a fellow down there. Pay you $10 if you
Singing again?
singing who's can. All right. Kat says the brain is designed to be in homeostasis. If you press on the pain lever, aka exercise or hot peppers, it balances it by giving you dopamine. If you press on the dopamine lever, it balances with pain. Amazing how that works. It's a beautiful thing.
It's a fact.
Yep. George Heilman, good to see you. I like to think of my approach to alcohol as like Hawkeye in MASH, demanding a drink because he needs it, pauses to consider, and leaves saying, I'll come back when I want it. And I rarely want it.
George, I love that. Honestly,
that's awesome. That's pretty cool.
Freaking awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Spirit Prof, it took me a long time to realize my weed habit was an addiction. It started as a sleep aid and progressed to recreational, then habitual. I hope one day I can return to using it as a sleep aid. Try gummies.
I've not a doubt in my mind, brother. Look, it starts with what you just did, because the secrecy of suffering in silence and having something that we know has got our number, even if it's a little bit, when we internalize that, what are we saying? Well, we're ashamed of this, aren't we? I mean, we know that there's a problem and there's nothing wrong with you.
Speaking of, he also says, this is the only place I'm comfortable talking about myself as an addict, aside from conversation with my wife.
Well, I'm glad that you are here, man.
Pretty cool.
On the real. Very glad that you're here.
And from Mass, what Pat? Okay, says, I vape. I smoked for 30 years. I vaped for 10. My lungs are better. My blood work is better. My oxygen levels are better. I haven't quit. But for me, it's harm reduction.
Yeah. I'll say it again because I've said it a million times and I enjoy saying it. But in one of these scenarios, you take a piece of paper, right? And you put something inside the piece of paper, then you light it on fire. And then you breathe in the smoke coming off of that fire. Whatever the other option is a better one. Yeah. For us to believe whatever the other option is. Our lungs are not designed to breathe in things that are hundreds of degrees.
George tried smoking both cigarettes and weed as a teenager and stopped almost immediately as I hated the inhalation. That's what kept me from the habit.
George, I love that.
But he also says, my sweet tooth is certainly my addiction. Loathe as I have to admit, I've always eaten my depression away, especially after my last relationship fell apart about a decade ago. Yep.
Thank you for not suffering in silence. This may seem very insignificant to a lot of people who don't understand addiction, but for somebody to come and say, I'm struggling with this is like stepping out of a airplane for parachuting. Once you have said, I have a problem, try turning around and getting back to that door, right? It's going to be in your face now for the rest of your life that there is a problem. When the reason that people suffer in silence is because they somehow in the back of their mind know that the second they say that, it's going to be a time to make a change. And it could start with the smallest of things, the things that you do every day. You know what? How many spoonfuls of sugar do you put in your coffee every day?
There's Reese. Give her a follow.
4, cut it to 2. You're doing 2, cut it to 1. Right? Get to a point where you start to just remove. And folks, If you were to lose a pound a month, the rest of the world would call that failure. I would call it harm reduction. And if you can set the goal at always moving to where you're losing, then you're going to catch momentum, because success breeds what? Success breeds success. Nothing succeeds like success. So once you begin to start feeling that, there are some people on the boat right now who will come on every once in a while. I don't want to put anybody on blast, but people who will come on and say, this year I have lost this much weight. And it's pretty incredible stuff. But it starts every single time with a little bit of harm reduction, because the concept of, you know what I need? I need to lose 150 pounds. Are you kidding me? It's a human being. How does someone lose 150 pounds? Right?
So same way,
a quarter ounce at a time.
Same way, you know,
right? Quarter ounce at a time. And if you set goals of, okay, you know what I want to do? I want to build a ladder that goes from here to the moon. Well, that's a tall order, right? But if I could shoot for building a ladder that goes to the roof of my house, when I get to that point, I can go, holy crap, right? There's a level of success. Now we can reevaluate. Maybe that's a little too much of a goal.
You know what? When you get a coin, when you download an app and you see a week under your belt, it's the same thing. It's wind in your sail. It's wind under your wings. You know, it gives you a lift.
Give yourself every opportunity to be successful and to enjoy the success. I get up in the morning and I've got a list of things that I do. And you know what? I've been doing them for a decade. And when you do them, it still gives you the same satisfaction. It still says, you know what? This is me. The other guy, he'd be laying in his clothing from the night before. And chances are the bed might be made, might not be made. I'm just lying sideways across it. I might not even be in a bed, right? Exactly. I went until I fell down. I was like a kitten. I just went hard until I collapsed. And then I got up usually in the same clothes and did it all over again. The freedom that sobriety brings. And I'm not talking about not having to call the dope man. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I'm talking about going like this and sitting down and going, I'm not at all uncomfortable. If I have downtime, if there's 5 minutes that I'm not busy, if I'm not working with somebody or whatever, during that 5 minutes, I'm not feeling so uncomfortable in my own skin that I feel like I got to use. And that came from writing in a journal for probably 1,000 hours. I don't know how many, but I've been doing it for a decade. And you can ask Clibbs, and I mean, I'm
he does
pretty
what he
religious
says.
about it.
People, there's a whole bunch of comments that I've starred. I'm going to get to them. I'm going to do a few out of order right here because they jumped out and they're kind of important. One is from Lynette. Says, I have kidney failure. My doctor tells you not to eat spicy food. I don't get it. Why? He's your doctor.
Yes.
Or she. And you know, be careful. Listen to them.
Yeah, I stick with the doctor. I know.
You surely want to listen to me, you know.
Oh, for the love of God, he's Johnny Scoville.
But and I'm sorry, Lynette. I wish you the best. I hope you're hang in there. Ones for Lynette, please, you guys. You see ones, it's virtual love. It's a prayer. It's vibration. It says, I acknowledge you. So electronic love. Brian says, I agree with you, Tommy. Got my best friend name tattooed on my arm because he overdosed from H. It was his birthday yesterday. I'm sorry for the sad post. Don't be sorry for the sad post.
You know what? Your friend deserves the shout out. And you know something, people? Get ready. Watch my subscriber count. But we're making things happen right now that haven't happened in so long. I've been screaming about this. I said I had one issue. Right? I had one issue for the presidency, and we're tightening that border. There are people right now doing things to make sure that fentanyl isn't coming across the way it has been. Whether you guys like them or hate them or whatever, that's happening. So we got to keep holding all of the politicians' feet to the fire, because we can't afford to lose 300 people a day.
And thank you for all the love and prayers for Lynette. I see all that, and she sees it. It's important. Thank you. All right, a few more questions we got here. Want to love having surgery Monday. What's worse for pain, booze or opiate? Booze is my issue.
What's worse for pain? I don't know if I
understand
the question. I mean, if you're trying to treat pain with alcohol, that's a terrible painkiller. Opiates are the best.
That's what it's made for.
The best drug for treating pain. If you have an issue with alcohol, then you're probably susceptible to catching a habit on opiates, because they do tend to mesh sometimes. This is really important. Alcohol and opiates do not mix well. They have what they call 1 + 1 = 3, and you can very badly screw yourself up or cost yourself your life, because both are heavy-duty respiratory depressants. So if you're having surgery Monday, take the opiate the way it is prescribed and don't take any alcohol while you're on it, please.
Please.
And tell your doctor the truth.
Yeah.
If you have a problem with alcohol and you're going to end up drinking, tell your doctor that, because your doctor will more than likely write you a prescription for a benzo so that you don't accidentally start going crazy with the different stuff that you're doing. It's going to be far more predictable for them if they go that route versus allowing you to go home and drink. Never lie to your doctor, everybody. Is that my fiance?
Sure is. Hello, Reese.
Hello, Reese.
Yeah, you know what? The gut reaction is about anything is to lie about our use. Don't lie to your doctor.
Never to your doctor. Tell your doctor the truth about everything. They're
Even
not going
if
to give you
it's
crap and
scary.
they're not going to call the cops.
Yep. Rick Spicer asks, why do chili flakes look like seeds? Seeds have no heat because chili flakes is just crushed up placenta and pepper products, so it's going to have seeds in there. Let's see. She might jump out of it. There is the cat in the basket.
That is a cat in the basket.
Like a champ, she did that. It's a pretty kitty. So it's just crushed up pepper. Pepper powder is different. Powder is just blended completely, seeds removed. Flakes have seeds incorporated in them. That's
And
fine.
in both cases, they will make you hurt.
They might. Marcy says 3 years off of substances, lost 20 pounds, but just had a burger.
Good for you.
I write down everything I eat, try my best. I can drink and don't have a problem with that.
Good for you, Marcy. I love that.
Yeah.
Focus.
You got it
I
going
love
on.
that.
Anton says it takes an immense amount of willpower to get there as well. Small wins equal big wins long term. You're right.
Yeah, I'll tell you something.
Stupid, ridiculous long-term goals are only achievable if you got a lot of short-term achievable ones in the middle.
And I've never met anybody whose willpower was supreme. I've never met anybody whose willpower could get it done without assistance. Because if they did, they wouldn't have met me. Right? Everybody needs the assistance of the willpower of all the people around them. This is why those two guys who couldn't do it alone forever managed to do it together.
And I say here all the time that when you get involved with become invested in somebody else's sobriety, it'll do wonders for your own.
Absolutely.
Lisa says, I have an eating disorder. I wish I didn't have to eat. I've lost 45 pounds. I've lost and gained over 400 in my lifetime. I don't know what I will do if I gain this back. We'll talk. You got a journal, we'll talk.
Yep.
But the worst thing, don't, hyper focus on it, just keep do what you, like I said to you earlier, from what I know of you, you're very self-aware. The fact that you're talking about this puts you in a good spot. It's those who don't understand this. And you say like, huh? There are three kinds of people in the world: people that make things happen, people that watch things happen, and people say, what just happened? You're one of those people that makes things happen and you're aware. So put you in the driver's seat. Just,
Self-awareness is kind of a big deal in Sharon County.
Sharon says, say you're doing good for a while, you get scared of being okay. It's an actual medical condition.
No, this causes. So I've talked about this. If you've not been on the lifeboat for years, then you've probably caught a lot more of my true crime than my sobriety. But I am way more in danger of getting high because I'm being successful than I am being high because I'm a failure. I've been a failure forever. I'm good at that.
I dig my heels in when I'm a failure.
Yeah, I'm so good at being a failure. And I'm not being a smartass, but I've spent so much time failing that for a lifetime, that was my default setting. In fact, if I started to get successful, I would have to go, nope, I gotta short circuit myself. I want no money in my pocket, and I want a $700 habit I need to feed by tomorrow morning, because that's what I understand. I understand getting up in the morning and going. And that simplicity, as stupid as this sounds, was the allure. I didn't have to think about a girlfriend. I didn't have to think about a wife. I didn't have to think about a kid. I didn't have to think about a job. I didn't have to think about anything in life, including God, spirituality. The only thing I had to think about was that needle. And sadly, this happens for a lot of people, But when you start to realize that you're becoming successful, and it starts, you start being afraid of being normal, you better get your pen onto a piece of paper, and you better spend a couple of hours a day writing, because you're at the point where that onion is going to start doing this and throwing peels everywhere. Because as crazy as this sounds, you don't do what you do because you want to feel different. You think you do. You think, I just like the way the buzz is. Like I told people forever, I don't get high to cover something. I'm not getting high because there's something in my past that I got to deal with. I'm getting high because I like the way it felt. And then the next thing you knew, I had a habit. And I could have passed the polygraph test if that's exactly what was going on. And then I got sober long enough to start to peel back the onion. And I started to realize that, holy crap, I'm successful. Then you get out here and people are going, hey, you know what? If it wasn't for you, I'd still be using drugs. And you go, God, help us. Don't compliment me. What the hell are you doing, man? And then the next person says, you're one of the nicest people I've ever met. I got real love for you. And all I want to do is get in the corner and throw a freaking door up and never speak to any of you ever again. Because I'm used to them going, hey, F off, convict. Pick that up. Get over there. I'm used to being the dude that people hate. I'm not used to being the dude that people love. And you have to change everything about yourself. I'm getting a lot better at taking compliments. I'm getting a lot better at dealing with all this because.
Do you think it's a contributing factor to your imposter syndrome? Because I think it's a huge one with mine.
Of course. But when you peel enough, I got down there and went, oh my God, like this feeling. It's not just this, I'm uncomfortable in my own skin. No, there's a reason I'm uncomfortable in my own skin. Like I found out what that reason is. And it makes it a hell of a lot easier when something starts coming up and you start feeling discomfort. I can go, well, that's not real. I've written about this. I know exactly what's happening. I know this is an insecurity that goes back to when I was 5, right? Like this literally goes back to when I was a boy. But you're not going to figure that out if you keep pounding the booze or sticking a needle in your arm or sticking a straw up your nose or whatever it is you're doing, eating. Whatever it is you're doing, because this is what happens every day, Mr. and Mrs. Addict. You get to a point where you make a decision. I'm going to look at what makes me uncomfortable in my own skin, or I'm going to make that discomfort go away. And that's every single time you drink, every single time you fix, every single time you snort, roll a joint, do whatever you do. It's because you don't want to look at what is it that's making me feel this way. Oh, that's all right. Right, it takes 2 seconds. I'm good. Then I can go about my day and worry about things. I promise you, if you get to a point, you can feel that way without paying for it. And everything will be better. Your food will be better. Your sex will be better. Everything in your life becomes a different experience when you are comfortable in your own skin. Only took me 46 years.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And from Massachusetts, I watched both of my parents denying their addiction. I know it was mostly pride. I lived through my youngest sister's alcohol addiction, and I'm her biggest cheerleader. She quit 3 years ago. That's awesome. We need cheerleaders.
Damn straight. You know, I give the illustration. I talked about it earlier when you say, hey, 9 years, coming up on 9 years. Good. Don't say it in front of Grand Edna, right? We don't want to, let's put that in the past. It's great when you say to somebody, hey, guess what? I'm this long. And your friend goes, yes, let's call people and tell them, right? Because I'll tell you what. You can read books. There's a great book written by a guy named Dick Bass. At 65 years of age, he climbed the 5 highest peaks on Earth, right? You look into lives of people like that, or people that have won every award on Earth, like Elton John. But you ask these people, what's your greatest accomplishment? I mean, you touched the top of Everest, or you got 5 Grammys. Getting off dope, right? What was my greatest achievement? My greatest achievement, summiting the ultimate, was taking that substance and sticking it in the rear view and going, I won, right? That substance didn't get me. It killed all my friends. It did not get me.
True crime. Imposter syndrome is when the internal joy that a person feels doesn't match the external joy that is happening in their life. The inability to accept what's happening and to believe that was that they've achieved what they've achieved.
This is luck, or this is people
I'm
that
a
if they
fraud.
really knew who
One of these
I was,
days, yeah.
If they really had an idea of just how much of a dirtbag I am, they would all walk away. Or
Ants.
or
I think
worse.
ants do that.
Yeah, definitely. This is what causes the ants. But especially if you do what we do, right? People say, sometimes people say stuff that's way over the top. But the people who say stuff like, hey, you know what, you saved my life or whatever, I'm wrestling with just being a convict. I'm just glad that people on the street will talk to me, right? And, you saw Lionel joke the other day when he said, oh, well, now that I know what you are, I don't want to talk to you anymore. You're a convict. Believe it or not, in our head, that's how we feel every time we're in a room and someone will go, oh, no, Tommy got out 3 years ago. He was a bank robber. And you watch the light go, right? And everything changes. So that all of that gets wrapped up into a ball, and you start saying to yourself, man, these people are saying a lot of nice stuff about me and none of it's true. And that's imposter syndrome.
It's a bummer.
It's a bummer.
And it's real, wicked real.
It's super real.
Do you drink, SG asked, do you guys drink anything on a very special? I drink water a lot. I like iced tea. Fond of lemonade. I don't drink alcohol ever.
He does not
Tommy
drink
drinks a
any
beer now and then, but he doesn't really, I think part of it's out of respect for me, which you don't really need to do, but he just was not,
It
he was
depends
never
on where
really,
I am.
he was never really a big drinker.
I'm
It was
not
never
really.
his thing.
I'm not really a drinker. Like when I'm in Bug Tussle, I'll buy a 6 or a 12 pack of Corona and leave it in the fridge for when I want one because Johnny's not there and Reese doesn't drink. But I'm not. It was never really my substance. This is going to sound crazy because a lot of you probably never done smack, right? But I don't like the feeling of not being in control. And if I have 2 beers, I'm as right as rain. But if I have 3 beers, my ability to control everything, including like motor functions, and I'm not a guy that can drink 100 beers. If I drink 3 beers, you're going to hear it in my speech pattern. Like I'm going to start sounding like I had 3 beers.
Starts talking in cursive.
I don't want to sound like Joe Walsh, right? This is kind of all I got, right? Is my ability to speak. So alcohol is never really.
I'm better without it, but I really am. Anton says, don't forget, drugs aren't the only addiction. I've seen people at my work sweating over the TikTok ban. Never used it, but these people were freaking out.
First of all, drugs aren't even really the addiction. Drugs are a symptom because if you remove the drugs, like we had a guy on the boat. I'm not going to use his name, but he was very, very open and very honest in the early days of the boat. And we kind of highlighted his success. It's kind of like Turd Ferguson is doing right now, where we talk about where he is and what he's doing. Turd's currently in rehab in Mass. But we're going to be going through this with him. Well, one of the first guys we did this with, he found online gambling. And he went full bore. He went from being an alcoholic to a full bore online gambler. Sorry.
So he's gambling online.
It becomes an issue for the dude. That's a symptom, right? He had the same problem. The first symptom was booze. The second symptom was meth because he had traded one for the next. And then the third symptom was the gambling. Same problem. I'm uncomfortable in my own skin. Hey, booyah. So all of those things take away that feeling. And whatever's taking away that feeling, that's your friend, right? You're going to jump into bed with whatever makes that feeling go away. It doesn't matter what that feeling is. You got to take my word on it. So no, it's not just drugs. The addiction goes into everything, right? You can be addicted to a drug addict. You understand what I'm saying?
Certainly be addicted to people.
There are people along the way who get addicted to, and they live with the same BS. They have all of the chaos that this person's drug lifestyle causes, and they're right in the middle of it. They're helping the person cop dope. They're helping the person come up with money so they can go do what they do because they're so addicted to that codependent thing. It's real. Real talk. Real talk, John.
I've seen it. You guys are a force. Why is that not working? There you go. You guys are a force of good. Thank you, Windmill Willie. Appreciate that. Missy Ann says, because my genetics are against me, rule number 1 has always been do not drink if you feel like you need it. I probably need to make rule number 2. If you feel like you need to eat, drink water and wait 20 minutes. Yep. Or drink a glass of water before you eat a meal. That's what I've always heard. It helps.
Right. Any of the little tricks, right? But what it's going to come down to every single time, because all of these tricks are simply that. And I've got a bunch of them, right? You'll hear me say, when I start feeling like I'm going to use, first thing I do is I get up. I stop looking at these 4 walls. I change. I go outside. I look at, all of my senses get bombarded with new sounds, new smells, new tastes, right? All of this stuff, new things to look at, things that are moving fast. Cars are going by. It distracts my mind. But that's a trick, right? It's a parlor trick. It's like any of the others. Yeah, pounding water. And by the way, drink cold water, right? It's just another trick. Your body has to take that water and heat it. And that's just you burning calories to try to take that water and heat it up. But I did when I was trying to lose the weight. And I lost almost 100 pounds. Like I didn't have a problem knocking it off because I did it the same way. It was harm reduction. I didn't start off with, I'm not eating anything ever again. I started off with, all right, I'm going to knock out the honey buns. And then after about 2 weeks of doing the harm reduction, Q said to me, you're spinning your wheels. You need to do mini fasts. And he broke down what I needed to do, and the weight started to fall off of me. I mean, fall off of me. And I'm not trying to brag here, but by the time I left, you could see my abs, right? I went from being close to 100 pounds overweight to having a 6-pack. And it's like anything else, right? I am bragging. Screw it, I'm bragging. I'm an old man. Still got a stomach. Brag. So.
Gamer Jackie, what do you do to motivate to exercise with pain and chronic fatigue? I don't have the energy, and when I used to try to tidy,
I don't have the energy that I used to have when I tried to tidy up. Some days I sleep to work, then come home and back to sleep. So chronic fatigue is really hard, and it's not something that I can speak to intelligently because I have not endured it. What I have done, though, I have put up with over the course of my life. I've had a lot of pain, and
I need to get closer.
And for me, there's a huge. I use endorphins as a painkiller and have forever. So working through pain as a workout, I was always trying to get to that endorphin dump, right? I know that if I do push and I continue to work, the endorphins are going to do two things. They're not just going to make the pain go away. They also wake you the hell up, right? So that chronic fatigue, if you're working out and doing that, don't make the workout so difficult that you can't handle it. Walking for 30 minutes is honestly the greatest workout in the world. If you can just set yourself, if you can't do that, I bet you could do 5. If you can't do 5, then you can do 3. But harm reduction, start with 30 seconds if you have to.
Yeah. Anything you do helps. That's the truth. George says, I was given codeine for migraines some years ago. That was like being drunk, but without. Holy crap. You look at that. There we go. That was like being drunk, but without losing my cognitive ability. And I knew I only needed it for a temporary period. That's amazing. You guys, you can do this, and the whole screen is huge, but now I can't see anything over here.
No, but you can go over and do that with those too.
That is cool.
How about that? And see that? I'm the tech guy. Did you catch that?
You did.
I'm the tech guy. I can't back that up.
Yeah, you know what? I've only had 3 migraines, George, and they were horrible. I don't envy you.
I get them a lot. And they're new to me. I didn't get them 4 years ago. They just started, and my heart goes out to you because it's one of the worst feelings in the entire world. Yeah, I wish I had a great answer, although there is a hood that you can buy that cools when you put things on, and it knocks out my migraines. Now, we're getting pretty close to the end of this. Do you know my fiance is live, so we should send that audience over there and we're done.
And there's a whole lot of comments we didn't get to. Please join me tomorrow. Hey, what are you doing tomorrow at 5?
I'll stop back. I like the sobriety stuff.
All right, so be here tomorrow. We'll look at these comments. We'll get to them tomorrow, but please do me a favor. Let's all go over.
We're going to see you over there.
And
you got to tell her that we're coming from Chase the Heat. Be a little obnoxious about it.
It's a room raid.
That the Scoville brothers just raided her show.
And I love you all for being here. Stay strong. We'll do this again tomorrow. We'll check out all these comments. We'll do it again, all right? I love you guys. I'm Johnny Scoville, and this is my brother Tommy.
Tommy.
This was the Capsaicin Connection.